What are the pros and cons of seeing a Filipina therapist? If you're not aware, I'm actually a Filipina therapist here in California. So you might think that my opinions are biased. Leave me a comment, but I will do the best that I can because when I'm doing these videos, the goal is to serve you. First of all, I really think it's a benefit. If you are in Northern America, Canada, America, there's a lot more Filipino therapists. And I think that's great. In general, if you're seeing someone who is a culture match, you could expect that they could understand your culture um, better than someone who may not be non-Filipino. I also want to say that not every Filipino therapist is the same. So use your best judgment. Use always the free consultation. If you're not familiar, you can actually do a free consultation. Most therapists provide that, so you can see if you're a good fit. Secondly, you could relate to the person, or the therapist could relate to you when they talk about potlucks, Filipino potlucks, um, how we decorate our Christmas tree, or we put up our Christmas tree when the months ends in like September. So do you have your Christmas tree at this point? So those things might be odd, but if you're Filipino and the therapist, they might get that that's a tradition in the Filipino culture. And of course, any tradition evolves. Um, the next one is that you might feel more ease when you have someone that looks like you. um, they can maybe even finish your sentence, understand where you're coming from, then you may feel more ease, more comfortable. And in research, other than, of course, we want your therapist to be competent, you also want to have that good, feel good relationship with your therapist. So in research, that's very important. But there might be some disadvantages of seeing a Filipino therapist. Here's one. Part of the training of being a therapist is to see things more objectively, regardless of how I think about the subject, my own beliefs. So I have to be very aware of my own belief system. Another, if the therapist is not quite aware, or they're aware, but they may over identify. So that's the first one. They might over identify with you because they have very, very similar experience. And as you know, no experience is the same, but they relate to it so much that they over identify. So that may be a disadvantage. Of course, if the therapist identify and because of that they can relate to you and vice versa, that might be a benefit. But when they over identify, as if they're listening to their younger selves. Next is that if it's very actually similar to the first one, if the therapists have issues with their family of origin, and mind you, we all have some issues, but issues enough that and they have not resolved it, or it's hard for them, it's piercing for them, it's triggering for them, then it can bias their your conversation with them. And the thing about therapy is that I always tell people the therapist is helping you to find your way back home. I'm not trying to lead you so you could find my home. It's not about me, but it's about the person. Whether I agree with the where they're going or not is not the point. The goal, I hope, that you come across this, speaking to your therapist, is that you become the fullest expression of yourself. Not like me, because you're not me. So I always tell people, don't follow me, you might get lost. The last one that I would share is that if you are in the same culture, sometimes people might feel obligated, even if maybe it's no longer a good match. Let's say you want to quit therapy. Some people might feel more obligated in comparison if their therapist isn't Filipino, for instance. So that's almost the opposite of the therapist over identifying now that you can identify more with your therapist. So we have a term, transference is what we call that. So it might be harder for you to like, um, or you're trying to please more the practitioner. You feel bad. You want them to feel good. Um, just a recommendation. It is not your obligation and not your position to make the therapist feel good about themselves. And it's okay. Most therapists, if they're well trained but also well meaning, I think most therapists are. If you tell them it's not a good match and you're not finding yourself, I think they would appreciate it. If you are interested in consulting, I'll put the link. You can consult with me. Again, I'm in California. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. But even without that, I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope you're having a good day. This is Roanne Samuels, licensed psychotherapist. Ingat po. Bye now.